Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to do a quick mental exercise with me. Think about the last time you opened Instagram or LinkedIn or, whatever your doom scroll app of choice is. What did you see?
I think I can guess. A highlight reel.
Exactly. It's always a highlight reel. You see the vacation, the I'm humbled to announce my promotion posts, the perfect food. We are culturally obsessed with the peaks. We're addicted to this idea of living the dream.
We are.
But today we are doing something that feels almost, I don't know, illegal in the current attention economy.
It is definitely counterintuitive. We're usually here trying to make things exciting, but today we're talking about the exact opposite.
We are looking at a source that basically grabs us by the shoulders and just says, stop it. You are delusional. We are diving into a document with the incredibly unsexy title, Show Me the Boring Part.pdf.
That sounds like the world's worst movie pitch.
Right. But here's the thing. This isn't your standard, 5 steps to happiness self-help guide. It reads more like a raw philosophical manifesto.
It's a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah, the English is a little broken, but the message is just laser-focused. It wants to convince you that the most valuable thing you can do is identify, embrace, and master the absolute dullest parts of your life.
Which is a very hard sell. I mean,
Yeah.
biologically, we are wired to escape boredom. When we're bored, we feel like something is wrong.
Exactly. If I'm bored, I pull out my phone, I look for a distraction, I treat boredom like a symptom of failure. But this source is arguing that the boredom is the problem, it's the solution,
It's the raw material.
the raw material.
The core argument here is actually really profound. It says that our whole obsession with living a life of dreams or constant excitement is, and this is a quote, delusional. It argues that real life isn't made of these amazing moments strung together like some movie montage.
That's a fantasy.
It's a total fantasy. Real life is the minute-by-minute reality of what you do. And if you can't master the boring stuff, the repetitive stuff, you have no foundation. You're just chasing a ghost.
So the mission for this deep dive is to get you, the listener, to stop looking for a better place and start looking at the life of nonsense, their words, not mine, that you're already in.
And we're going to talk about breaking your day down into minutes, why Warren Buffett's strategy applies to your personality, and why you should treat yourself like a piece of raw rock.
It's a complete reframing of how we spend our time.
Totally.
So let's start with that practical side. How does the source actually want us to look at our lives? Because it's not just be patient, is it? It's much more specific.
No, it's incredibly granular. The source offers a really specific method for analyzing your existence. It says, show me the boring part of your life. I want to learn it. And the way you do that is by deconstructing time. You don't look at your life in terms of a career or a year.
It's too big.
Way too big. You can't wrap your hands around a year, so you have to zoom in.
Weigh in.
Weigh in. It says take a day, break it down into hours, take an hour, break it down into minutes, and then, and this is the part that really got me, take a minute and break it down into moments.
It calls this mapping it up, right?
Yes, the mapping exercise. It's like putting your life under a microscope. When you look at those individual moments, the commute, brushing your teeth, the data entry.
The waiting for the kettle to boil.
Right. You have to ask, how many of these moments are exciting and how many are boring?
I feel like if I did that, I'd find that 95% of my life is boring.
And that's the point. And the source asks, crucially, how many of these moments will repeat exactly the same way tomorrow?
That's terrifying and comforting at the same time.
And this is where it brings up this concept of the regulator.
The regulator. I love this term. It sounds so mechanical, like a part in an engine.
It is mechanical. The source talks about seeing what a regulator looks like. It's about identifying the baseline rhythm of your daily life, the things you do on autopilot.
The stuff you think is just filler between the good parts.
Exactly. And the source is arguing that this is the real game. If your regulator, your baseline existence, is something you hate or something you're just trying to fast forward through, you're missing your actual life.
But isn't that depressing? To look at your day and realize, wow, most of this is just repetitive maintenance. I think most people want to escape that.
It feels depressing if you're judging it by the standard of excitement. If your metric is, how much fun am I having right now, then yeah, doing dishes is miserable. But here is the logic, and this is where it gets really fascinating. The source says, once you understand those little steps, small things, small actions, small moments, that makes the whole experience interesting.
Okay, walk me through that. How does understanding the small moment of answering an email make it interesting?
Think about a biologist. If I look at a puddle of muddy water, it's boring. It's just brown water. But if a biologist looks at it under a microscope, they see an entire ecosystem.
They see patterns.
They see struggle, life, patterns. They find the interest in the depth, not the surface. And the source is saying you cannot have a life of dreams without first mastering the life of nonsense.
Life of nonsense. I really like that phrase. It admits that a lot of what we do feels, well, like nonsense.
It does. But if you skip the boring part, if you don't understand the regulator of your own life, you're just skimming the surface. You have to master the mechanics of your day-to-day. If you can make those boring, repetitive moments meaningful or at least understood, then you have control.
And if you don't want to do that,
The source is incredibly blunt. If that's not for you, then get out.
get out. I love that. It's like, if you're not willing to look at the minutes, don't complain about the years.
Exactly. And this
Maybe-
connects directly to this trap of better. The source has this really insightful observation about human nature. It says, life itself is quite short for us humans, hence this feeling of rushing.
Oh, we all feel that. The clock is ticking, so we sprint. We have to make it happen now.
We sprint. And because we're rushing, we let things slip through our fingers. We treat the present like a waiting room. We are always looking for the upgrade. The source lists them specifically. Better place, better job, better car, better wife.
The better wife one made me laugh. But it's real. It's that constant dissatisfaction. If I just had a different partner or a different city or a different laptop, then things wouldn't be boring.
It's the if-then trap. We think the problem is the setting, but the problem is the player. The source suggests a pivot. Instead of seeking new things, we need to focus on better ways to deal with what we have. It uses the word fruitful.
How can you be fruitful with your current reality?
All right. And this is where Warren Buffett comes in. I really did not expect to see him in a philosophical text about boredom, but the story fits perfectly.
It goes.
It does. The source retells a moment where someone asks Buffett for his investing strategy, and you can just imagine the scene. This person is probably expecting some complex algorithm, some inside secret.
I want the cheat code.
Yeah, exactly. But Buffett just looks at him. The source says he looks at him like, is another guy thinking I had a special sort of strategy? And he says it's simple.
He says, all I do is to look at the businesses and think about what they would look like in 10 years from now.
If I see potential, then I will invest.
Yeah.
That's it. He isn't looking at what the stock will do tomorrow. He's looking at the 10-year reality. And the source takes that and applies it directly to personal development. It asks you to look inside yourself for qualities that will stay the same in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
That is such a heavy question. In a world of TikTok trends and AI and fast learning, asking what will stay the same for 30 years feels almost countercultural. Everything is about disruption.
It is countercultural. The source explicitly critiques fast learning, fast processing, and fast achieving. It calls all of that superficial. It argues that if you learn something fast, you usually lose it fast. The real gold, the true worth, is the unique technique you develop intellectually over a long time. It's about stability.
So instead of trying to learn the newest hack, I should be looking at my character or my core skills, the things that, if I work on them every single day for a decade, will actually compound.
Exactly. Think about it this way. If you are constantly chasing the better thing, you are constantly pressing the reset button. You're always a beginner. But if you stick with the boring part, refining those core skills day in, day out, that's when you build something real.
That's when you get compound interest on your soul.
I like that.
Which brings us to the central metaphor of this whole document, the rock.
The sculpting metaphor. I love this visual because it's so physical. The source says to imagine yourself as a piece of rock or metal. Initially, you have a baseline value. You're just raw material,
Commodity.
And the boring part is the chisel. The
Yeah.
boring part is the sculpting. And think about what sculpting actually is. It's tedious, it's repetitive, it's hitting the same spot with a hammer over and over, it's sanding, it's polishing.
It's not flashy. It creates dust. It's messy.
It's messy. But the source argues that when you do the boring part, you turn that rock into a masterpiece. You turn it into a piece of art.
And the payoff isn't just self-satisfaction. The source claims this increases your value 100 times.
100 times the initial value.
Yeah.
And think about what that means. A raw rock you can find anywhere. A masterpiece is unique. But you can't get to the masterpiece without going through the process of being a rock getting hammered on for years.
You can't skip the friction.
No. And that process creates something the source calls authority. This really stood out to me. It says that if you master these skills, eventually you can come in front of others from an official point of view.
Yeah.
It says, I don't have to recognize, talk to authority behind your words. Meaning, the authority isn't given to you by a title. It's not because you have manager in your bio. It's baked into you because of the work you've done.
It says even if people don't agree with you, they will have to respect you.
That's a powerful distinction. They might not understand you. They might not even like what you're saying. But because there is weight behind it, the weight of that 10-year, 20-year mastery, they have to respect it.
You know, we can smell that on people, can't we? You can tell when someone is just reciting something they read 5 minutes ago versus someone who has lived a topic for 20 years.
Absolutely. One feels thin, the other feels heavy. The source is saying, be heavy. But to get that weight, you have to do the heavy lifting in the dark.
And that leads us to probably the hardest pill to swallow in this entire deep dive, the loneliness. Because if you're doing this work, you're often doing it alone.
This is where the source gets very real. It doesn't sugarcoat the journey at all. It says, in the end, you are tuning for yourself.
Tuning for yourself.
And then it drops the hammer with this line. Don't expect nobody to join you on your self-improvement journey.
Don't expect nobody to join you. That is stark. Yeah. We always hear about community and accountability partners and doing things together. Join my challenge.
Yeah.
But this source is saying, no, this is yours and yours alone.
Because the discipline has to come from within. If you're doing it for the applause or for the camaraderie, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. The source calls it discipline for yourself from within. Helping others is fine. It says if you could help somebody while you're doing it, then that's fine. But that's a byproduct. It's not the goal.
The goal is the sculpting. And it connects this to the idea of the starving artist, right? It mentions the greatest artists in the world.
It does. It points out that many great artists never got the right reward while they were alive. They became famous after death. Now, in a modern context, we'd say that's a tragedy. Oh, they failed to monetize their personal brand. But the source asks, did that stop them from being themselves?
No. So why do it? If the money comes too late or the fame never comes, why suffer through the boring part? Why sand the rock?
The source's answer is simple and profound. You do it because of who you are. You don't do it for the fame. You don't do it for the money. You do it because you are a sculptor and you have to sculpt the rock.
That really reframes the whole idea of motivation. You're not motivated by the reward. You're motivated by identity. I do this because this is what I do.
Precisely. It shifts the focus from the outcome to the identity. If you are a writer, you write, even if no one reads it. If you are a builder, you build. Even if no one buys it yet, the act itself is the reward.
That is powerful. But then there's this very interesting paradox in the text. On one hand, it says the journey is lonely, you do it for yourself. But on the other hand, it says, don't live in the shadows.
Yeah, this part catches a lot of people off guard. It says, get out there, let them be annoyed, be in their face.
That sounds confusing. If I'm supposed to be a lonely monk sculpting my rock, why am I also supposed to be in their face and annoying people?
It's not about being an attention seeker. It's about visibility without validation seeking. The source says, let them know you exist. Even if they are skeptics, you have to put your work into the world.
It says, let them be like, all right, let's have a look.
Exactly. You present your work. You present your boring part that you've mastered. And the source says, even if they don't give you a chance, it's fine. Because, and this is a great line, you don't live for those that they don't, you live for the ones that they do.
Even if those people are few and far between?
Even if they are few, you have to find the right market, the right collector, the one willing to pay the price for the unique thing you've developed. But you can't find them if you're hiding. So you have to be in their face, not to get their approval, but to find your people.
It's a really tough balance.
Yeah.
Be disciplined enough to work alone in the dark, but brave enough to stand in the light and let people judge you.
That's the artist's mindset, and that's what this source is ultimately trying to instill in you. It's moving you from a consumer mindset consuming excitement to a creator mindset.
And creation is mostly boring. It's mostly sanding the wood, or chipping the stone, or debugging the code.
It is, but that's where life is. If you're just chasing the highlight reel, you're just watching the movie. But if you embrace the boring part, you're actually making the movie.
So let's try to bring this all together. We started this deep dive asking why we are so obsessed with excitement. And I think we found the answer. We use excitement to distract ourselves from the work.
We use it to avoid the sculpting. We look for the better car because it's easier than building a better self.
But the source, showmetheboringpart.pdf, is telling us to stop running. It wants us to look at that boring Tuesday afternoon, that repetitive task, that quiet hour, and see it as raw material.
It wants us to love the boring part, to
Yeah.
master the minute-by-minute regulator of our lives, because that is where the authority comes from. That is where the value is generated.
And it's a lonely road. We can't sugarcoat that. You're tuning for yourself.
But it's the only road that leads to becoming a masterpiece rather than just remaining a rock.
I want to leave you with a thought today, something to really chew on based on that artist analogy you brought up. The source mentioned artists who didn't get recognized until after they were gone.
A haunting thought.
So here is the challenge. If you knew for a fact that you wouldn't get the better car, or the public applause, or the recognition for 30 years, if you knew the reward was decades away, or maybe never coming, would you still have the discipline to sculpt the rock today?
That's the real question. That separates the hobbyist from the master.
Your answer to that tells you if you're doing it for the applause or if you're actually doing it for you. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go find the boring part.
And master it.
We'll see you next time.